Destruction is easier than creation. I think about the picture of a boy who spends hours and hours and hours buying a model and putting it together and painting it and decaling it, and then he takes it outside and puts firecrackers in it and blows it to pieces. And we can spend 12 to 14 months creating something like Modality, and in just a couple of minutes somebody could come along and give us a review that completely destroys it. And we're not worried about Modality. We know we've got many users and people who are enjoying it. They're understanding its potential as well as its usefulness even now. And so we're not worried about where it's going to go or where it's going to end up. But what I want to talk about is reviews and the general problem with reviews, not just for us, but for anybody. Now, that problem with reviews kind of is encapsulated in the word imbalance. And there are three ways that reviews tend to be imbalanced. And the first one is in the area of motivation. What I mean by that is that if you think about this, it doesn't take too long to figure it out. The people who are more motivated to write a review are going to be the people who are upset and angry. You don't usually get somebody who pulls a system or a product and says, hey, I like this, it's good, it's useful, and I'm going to go ahead and write a review. Unless they're just like, this is the most amazing thing that I've ever seen. And then they'll want to go ahead and tell everybody. But a lot of people just don't have the time, or they're just not thinking about it. They realize, oh yeah, it works. It does what I wanted it to. And they just go on. And that's not anybody's fault or problem. It's just kind of the way it works. So you get this imbalance in that the people who are like, oh man, I'm going to tell everybody how horrible, and then they go and make a review. And if you've got, 200 users of something and 180 of them like it, understand it, and want to keep using it, and then 20 of them are like, yeah, I don't like that, or like, that sucked, or whatever, then it's the 20 who are going to tend to be the most vocal. So there's that imbalance. And part of what I want to do here is encourage people who have used it, who have enjoyed it. We know you're out there. Just go ahead and post that review, because that would help us a lot. And by the way, Modality does have more than 200 users. We're increasing all the time, so we're real excited about that as well. But then the second problem with reviews is that they're fake a lot of times. Just like there's fake news, there are fake reviews. And that can come in a couple forms. One form is that sometimes the competition will come to you and they will push you down. They'll say, yeah, it was horrible. And they're just trying to lift themselves up by pushing you down. Then, of course, the other alternative that sometimes people do, you can actually buy reviews. We could go ahead and drop $1,000 and get hundreds of glowing reviews about how great this product is. Now, I know it's great, but we actually want people to use it, experience it, and then go ahead and review it from that. Not because we paid somebody to say, yeah, this is a great product. And then the third problem that has to do with imbalance is, in many ways, I think probably the most important one, and I hinted at it at the beginning of the video, and that is the fact that you can build something over 12 to 14 months, and people can come and destroy it in a couple of minutes. And I think of both the movie and the film Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, where Guy Montag says, behind every book, there's a man. And, of course, the job of that man in the book is to burn books. And how quickly, in just seconds, can you take something that somebody might have spent a year of their life or more producing, and you just burn it in a couple seconds. And so we've built a car, so to speak. We didn't build a car, but a car, so to speak, a metaphorical car. Might be a rather unusual car, something that people are not used to seeing. and the car is called Modality, and it's got a function. It is used to get people from here to there more quickly than they have done so in the past. That's the function. And so we built this car and got in it, and we're trying to drive from New York to Los Angeles, and all of a sudden, bam, there's a nail in the road. So we spend 12 to 14 months building the car. One nail sets us back. Okay. Now again, we're not worried about being set back. We're moving forward and we're okay with that. We're just talking about the problem of reviews in general. Now, why do I say 12 to 14 months? Don't I know how long it took? So we started in on Modality in earnest November 2015. And Modality went on the Samsung Watch November 2016. So that was basically a year. Before November 2015, I'd spent somewhere in the neighborhood 5-6 months thinking about it, trying different ideas on paper, trying different things on the computer, thinking through how it was going to operate and its lists. And so that was 5 or 6 month time, but it wasn't completely focused on Modality as we did pretty much in the next year, besides doing other things to keep money flowing. So really, if you kind of put that all together, those 5 or 6 months probably would have been about 2 months of full time. So that's why we say 12 to 14 months. Now, to the person who says they can't install it, it looks like it's installing, but it's not. First of all, that's probably a simple problem, and it's a problem with the interface that you don't think that you're going to have to do something that you do. You go to settings, you go to input, and you choose Modality as the input, and it looks like Modality is there. But you actually have to take one more step, which is to press the top button on the Gear S3 or Gear S2 before it'll actually install. So it's probably a simple problem. That's probably all that solves that. But I think of back in the 1980s. Now, this guy gave us a half a star review for what probably is a simple problem and probably isn't even our fault. And I think back to the 1980s when people would buy VCRs and they had all kinds of problems getting the clock set so that they could record a program. You know, they wanted to record something coming up on Thursday night, and the things were kind of difficult to program. And so people were kind of getting frustrated and people would make jokes about it. But what I don't think anybody did was buy a VCR and have a problem setting up a recording for Thursday night and then go and tell the entire world this VCR is a piece of garbage, complete and utter junk, the worst possible VCR that could have ever been created, because I can't record my program on Thursday night. But that is essentially what this person has done. They've said, I've got a problem. Now, I understand how frustrating it can be in technology when you expect one thing to happen and something else happens that wasn't what you were after. But we're very easy to find. And instead of messaging us on Facebook or writing us at support@joyfulmachines.com, this person decided that they were going to go on, leave a review, and say to the whole world, this is the worst possible thing that could possibly exist. I'm going to give it a 1/2 star because I couldn't install it. And that would be like the guy who couldn't record his program on Thursday night and assumed that the piece of equipment itself was a complete piece of junk. And you can hear the frustration in my voice because that is the kind of thing that potentially, I don't think it will, but potentially in a minute could destroy something that we built over 12 to 14 months. It's a nail on the road. Now, this other guy, and I say guy, it could be anybody, but this other person says, how do I get a refund? Now, first of all, it's a 99-cent app. And it's a 99-cent app because we're just trying to get it out, get people to use it, get people to like it. I understand being money conscious, but if I spent 99 cents on an app and I could see that the people who had worked on it had worked very hard on it, Of course, my attitude would be just let them keep the 99 cents, even if it didn't do quite what I was hoping it would do. Now, their critique, by the way, is valid. They said that they don't think that they're going to get a return on their investment. We, of course, think they should just use it a little bit longer because you invest an hour at the front and you save hours and hours and hours of time down the road. And that's the point of Modality. And you can learn it in 10 minutes. But regardless, his response is valid. But to start with the words, how do I get a refund, is just incredibly destructive. And it's not just to us. This is destructive to innovation and progress. It just comes to a screeching halt when you get somebody who comments that way. Those words, how do I get a refund? Because Modality is, of course, we want to come out on top, but what we're trying to do is lead the way. So we don't care, in some senses, if somebody else kind of becomes the more used system. We want Modality to be it. But we're all trying to open up a gateway because this game has got to change. We can't just keep forcing a 10-finger system onto a phone or onto a watch, which Samsung tried that at first. Evidently that didn't work for them, so they went to the T9. Now anybody who thinks that the T9 system that everybody hated is the final solution that everybody needs to keep using for the rest of our watch wearing lives, that can't be. It just can't be, because the T9 system is a failed system in many ways. So we're trying to pave the way and open up the doorway to something new, much like Mr. Bradbury opened up the doorway to something new. And so in just a couple words, that's the kind of thing that could potentially put a halt to innovation and progress. Now, of course, the darkest possibility of all is that this actually is our competition. And if that's the case, I kind of actually suspect that it is. One, because no version showed up as part of the review. It's just like version 0, which doesn't make any sense. And also because we've reached out to these people just trying to get some more details and haven't heard anything back. So, who knows who they are, but it could be the competition. And if it is, lots of things to say about that. First of all, that's rather childish to go on to another person's, and I would never do this, by the way. There are plenty of other people trying to do something like what we're doing. We're trying to give a solution to the fact that we can't put the original system on our current devices. We just can't do it. So we have to do something new. And there are people that I've talked about before, Messages, Minuum, and Touch One, and they're all on various devices. I would never go to Touch One's Samsung watch download. I want them to succeed, for one thing. I would never go there and come up with some reason that I thought their solution was just complete garbage and, give them a half a star. I wouldn't do it. That just doesn't make any sense. Now, if you want to have a proper competition and man up and talk about why you think your system's better, and I'll tell you why mine's better, we can do that at the proper time and in the proper channel. But leaving a crappy review on somebody else's app is not the proper channel. And I'm saying, hey, let's go at it if we're going to go at it. But the bigger problem is that kind of behavior is destructive to everybody, not just us, but even to yourselves, because to stand on our backs and say, ha ha ha, we beat them, is not effective. A couple kids just squirming around in the play yard when those two kids are supposed to be fighting something bigger doesn't make any sense. And I can promise you that maybe I'm the competition, but I am not the enemy. And we've got a much, much, much bigger problem. And that bigger problem is that many, many, many people have in their minds ingrained the old way of doing something, and they're going to have to go through the paradigm shift. And we are trying to lead the paradigm shift, and so is our competition. We're all trying to open up that doorway. And that's the bigger challenge, and that's the bigger struggle. So why would we sit there fighting one another at a time where we need to be fighting the whole manner of thinking that is 1,000 times bigger than either one of us? Now that assumes that this is the competition. I don't know, it could be anybody, but either way, to say, oh, I couldn't get it installed and therefore I'm going to give it a half a star, the worst possible rating, is both imbalanced as well as destructive. And not only to us, although we're pretty sure we're going to survive it, but it's destructive to anybody who's like us, who is trying to push things forward and move to the next place that really we all need to get to anyway. So those are the 3 basic problems with reviews, and we've been kind of dealing with them on and off for the past, several months since we first released on Android and iOS. And now we're starting to deal with Samsung Watch. But again, we're just really pleased with Modality. We're happy with where it is right now. We're happy with where it's going. If you've had a good experience with it, we would love to hear you also review it, just to balance things out a little bit. We realize it's not necessarily for everybody, but we do think it's going to be for most of us. And so we would love to hear your reviews. Again, as always, message us on Facebook, write us at support@joyfulmachines.com, and we look forward to hearing from you.